Welcome back. The recent clash between former Lagos State gubernatorial candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Funsho Doherty, and the state government over alleged excessive spending has ignited a fiery debate, not just in Lagos State, but across Nigeria. Doherty's revelations of extravagant procurement, as highlighted on the state's procurement portal, have raised eyebrows and drawn sharp criticism. Tonight, on Politics HQ, we delve into this contentious dispute, seeking insight from a distinguished panel of analysts from transparency contests or concerns to the credibility of procurement processes. Let's attempt to dissect this unfolding saga in Lagos State's politics. So we have joining us to do justice to this discussion, Dr. Olayinka Oyegbile. He's the CEO of Double O Communications. He's a journalist as well. We have Joe Femi Dagoro, is a public affairs analyst, and Tolulope Adeyemo, Senior Program Manager with Connected Development Code for Africa. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Tolulope, sorry about that if I got the organization wrong. It's Code for Africa. Let's start with your reactions to the revelations made by Funsho Doherty, gentlemen. I'll start with Tolulope Adeyemo. Your reactions.
I think, first off, I would want to say that in the era where transparency and open government data are increasingly critical for fostering public trust, I want to commend the government and every citizen that have contributed to ensuring that budget data, the government budget data, is out there for the public to be able to access how expenditures are being used or are being done within the government. So I think first of all, I want to commend the Lagos State government for being transparent about its budget. I think it's a recognition of the significance of openness in governance, and I believe that while we want to, so I believe it's a noteworthy step towards meeting citizen expectations. So this is something that we're always advocating for, to ensure that government data are easily accessible to citizens, so as to hold the government accountable and responsible. So based on the insight that we have, left to me, I think the budget for some aspects of the government expectation were quite, I think they were actually quite humongous in a way that I felt like some of these budgets could have covered or meet some expectations of the citizens. So I think my first reaction is, I think I am pleased to see that now that the government are now committing to open data. So I think that was my first reaction to that. And I see that citizens are also holding governments responsible and accountable. Yeah, so that was my first reaction.
All right, quite interesting. Commendation to the government for at least putting out these data, in the public domain. Dr. Oyegbile, your reaction?
Yes, I said that, just as she said also, that Nigerians are now looking into details of our budget. But the truth of the matter is that some of these things at this time are annoying, because the government has said that times are hard. We should tighten our own belts, but the government is not tightening its own belt. The deputy governor was said to have been given 2 billion for rechargeable fund, although he came out today to say it is just 2 million. Then the question is, you ask yourself, 2 million for rechargeable funds, for how many offices, for how many houses, and so on? And then, is it that this 2 million or less than that couldn't have been spent to have a solar power system that would that the fund would make use of?
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Oyegbile. Tolu, the Lagos State, Office of Public Procurement Agency, denied any illegality in the spending documents flagged by Doherty. So there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, most of what they were saying, if you read the response from the state government, which they actually, like you said, we must commend them that they made an effort to respond to every point raised by Doherty. Some of them, you'd see that they said that there was nothing wrong there, that the man that is being clearly explained. So what's your take on that? That they're saying there's nothing illegal about the spending documents that have been flagged by Doherty? Because for some of them, for instance, you look at some of the projects like the Lekki Expressway, and you look at the amount of money being spent on some of these projects, you wonder whether that project warrants such amount of money. Tolu?
Yes. So I think it's really concerning to see the amount of money that is being spent on some, I'll call it frivolous things. But we need to keep in mind that fiscal responsibility is a cornerstone of sustainable spending. And government officials must be able to adopt prudent financial management practices. And I think this is something that I think Nigerian government needs to focus on and avoid unnecessary expenditures and be able to prioritize projects with a proven track record of positive community impacts. So I believe this is not only to ensure that efficient use of public funds, but also to build public trust in the government's ability to manage resources responsibly. So I think government needs to also focus on being prudent in the way they spend tax money or the state money or the federal money that comes, and focus on the community. I mean, they should be able to also involve citizens in that decision-making process, even if we say we have so much money in Lagos State. But how about involving citizens in decision-making process? So that government officials can then ensure that budget allocations aligns with the, I would say, aspirations and requirements of the people that they serve. The grassroots, the people in the local government, in the state, everywhere, they should be able to meet their expectations and be able to meet their requirements. And so I think that's my take on that. Yeah.
Let's look at some of the some of the items that Doherty highlighted, some questionable procurement items. We see that there is a repetition of consultancy services. What are these consultancy services for some of us who are not in the construction or project or contracting space? For instance, you have consultancy service for the update of the Strategic Transport and Mobility Master Plan for Lagos megacity area. I'm just trying to understand what the consultation is for. That's 5,380 million naira, approximately about. You have consultancy service for the detailed engineering design and supervision of construction of quality bus corridor. You have 7,361 million naira. One will argue, okay, don't we have a Ministry of Works? Don't we have state employed engineers who can do such supervision and, engineering design? You go to consultancy services for the engagement of loan facilitator. That's not the engagement but consultancy services for the engagement of loan facilitator and advisor on the LRMT Blue Line project. Now, I'm not saying they've done anything wrong. I'm just trying to understand. That's 2,101 million naira approximately. Consultancy services for the engagement of loan transaction arranger and advisor to Lagos State Government Lamata Red Line project, 3.1 billion naira. So what is it about these consultancy projects? Because the government has given its response, for instance, for the loan facilitator consultancy services on the Blue Line project, which is 2.1 billion naira, they say the consultant played a key role in securing funding for the Blue and Red Lines through local banks. So is it that the consultant will come to say, okay, I can help you to get this money, and then when you get it, you pay me that? It's just that can the government itself, through the people it pays a monthly salary, look for a way to secure these funds and look for a way to design these roads, like the strategic road master plan that they had to pay other people to come design and to monitor. Tolu?
Well, so I think this has been in the culture of government employing international consultancy services to implement local projects or get to implement things within the country. And I feel I think we need to start moving towards that direction where we are empowering our people, empowering our institutions, include the ministries, for them to be able to start, empower them to the state where they're able to take up this project by themselves and implement them. Because local constituency firms or the local institutions have a deeper understanding of local culture, regulations, socioeconomic dynamics. And I feel like this familiarity allows them to provide more context-specific, relevant advice compared to international firms, which may have an in-depth understanding of the local context. And engaging consultancy services, the local one could also, when they are well empowered, I feel like it could help. Have a lower overhead cost compared to bringing international firms from China or from Germany. It actually could lead to potentially lower service fees. So from the budget, if we look at the budget more closely, apart from the cost of the products or the equipment, there would definitely be a higher overhead cost. Okay, that has been incurred. So I think the government needs to focus on empowering our local consultancy services to be able to implement public projects.
Okay. Do we have a doctor back with us? Dr. Oyegbile, are you there, sir? Okay. Tolulope, okay, Dr. Oyegbile, the Lagos State government, we must give them the credit, through the Lagos State Office of Public Procurement had come out to reply Mr. Doherty line by line. And they mentioned that the detailed information that was put out on which Mr. Doherty relied on to make his claims lacked some clarity, leading to some sort of misunderstanding on those items. What do you say to that? And how is it important for government to provide, transparency and to make it easy to understand what they write, that their product or project descriptions? Doctor.
Obviously, when you look at the government's response and Doherty's allegations too, both of them have their own, they have their own say. Because what do you expect? The government obviously will come out to give an explanation to what it has done. The good thing about it is now that, yes, at least we have what we have a basis for discussion now. Government is not saying all the things that he said is untrue. The deputy governor says he only had about 2 million to buy rechargeable fans, light free, and all that. Fine. But the question now is, are we now giving up?
All right. Sorry, sir. Your network isn't too clear, and we keep losing you. I'll just go back to Tolu just for a second here. Tolu, in a wider context, would it be safe to say that state governments evade scrutiny in their spending and procurement processes when compared to the federal government? If that is true, why is that the case?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah, would it be correct to say that state governments evade scrutiny, on their spending and procurement processes? And if you agree with that position, why is that the case, that they are able to evade that scrutiny, public scrutiny, when compared to the federal government?
wouldn't totally agree to that. And the reason being that considering that I think, like I mentioned, our governments, both state, local governments, do have the same culture of the way they, in terms of the way they allocate public funds. So, but I'm following this thread, I said that the Lagos state government was able to debunk the insight that was shared on Twitter. And even though they had mentioned that some of the figures that were shared was not correct, but then we also need to look at how much, even though they broke it down for that, but then it's still, if you still look at the amount that was shared, it was still a little bit high for that's allocation of funds for replacing liquid fragrance and purchasing rechargeable fans. And this is what really raised the eyebrows amongst the citizens. So I think I would really say both the federal government and the state government, when it comes to public fund allocation, I think they are almost similar in terms of their approach.
All right, Dr. Olayinka, Oyegbile, thank you so much for your time. We sincerely apologize that the network didn't allow us to do justice to your very sterling, contribution. But we hope to have you again because we're still on this matter. Tolulope, Adeyemo, it's been a pleasure having you as well, Senior Program Manager of Code for Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Right, and on that note, we come to the end of Politics HQ tonight. It's been a nice company having you. My name is Kofi Bartels. I'll be back tomorrow night.